Okay, let's talk more about explicit and recursive formulas. So, I'm going to talk about arithmetic and geometric sequences, okay? And we're going to talk about a recursive formula and an explicit formula. So let's just start. I'll just give you the zero term. So a sub 0 is 8, and the common difference is 3. Okay? So now a recursive rule, it just tells us how each one reoccurs. How does it reoccur? What's happening each time if the common difference is 3? What? Okay, we're adding 3. Okay, so I would say a sub n is equal to. So what do I have to add 3 to?
The last one.
The last one. So if I want the 10th term, I have to add 3 to the what? 9th term. Okay, that makes sense, everybody? Okay, so here's the way we write that. It equals a sub n minus 1. So if I want the nth term, I take the a sub n minus 1 term, so the one right before it, and I add 3. That is the recursive rule. That's how this thing reoccurs. If I want the 20th term, I take the 19th term, and I add 3. Good to know. Always good to know how we get the next one. Right? Okay. Now, better to know, okay, not just how to find the next one, but how to find any one that we want. So we have to talk about now an explicit rule, which is actually what we've been doing. Okay, our explicit rule would look like a sub n equals 3 times n plus 8. So y equals mx plus b. We've been doing this one already, haven't we? But before you can write an explicit rule, don't you need to know that? You need to know how to get the next one, right? Okay, so recursive rule, how do we get the next one? Explicit rule, how do we get any one that we want? So let's now look at a geometric series. Let's say a sub o, a sub 0, or a sub naught, I should probably say, is 4, and the common ratio is a half. Okay, so how do I get the next one all the time? What do I times by half? 1 before it. Okay, that's right. So recursive rule would be a sub n is the one right before it, and what do I have to do with the one right before it? Multiply it by half. So that's the recursive rule. That's how I get the next one in the series. And we need to know that because we have to know that common ratio, don't we, in order to write the explicit rule. The explicit rule, you getting this in your notes? The explicit rule would be a sub n equals the 0 term, the initial amount, times the common ratio to the n power. Or so whether it's arithmetic or geometric, you need to be able to write a recursive rule and an explicit rule. Okay, got that in your notes? Okay, so probably the weirdest problems that you're going to have to do today are going to look something like this. Write an explicit rule for the recursive rule. So it tells you a sub 1. A sub 1 is 10. And a sub n equals negative 8 times a sub n minus 1. Here's a recursive rule. Can we write an explicit rule for this?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, yeah. Is it geometric or is it arithmetic? Is it arithmetic? If we're timesing the one right before by negative 8, is that arithmetic? No, that's geometric, isn't it? Now, this isn't an exponential function because we have a negative common ratio here. So you couldn't graph it and have it be that nice pretty curve. It's going to be jumping back and forth. You know, your output's going to be positive and then your output's going to be negative. Okay? But it's still a geometric sequence. That makes sense? Okay, so we know the common ratio. What's the common ratio? Hey, I'm not playing this game by myself. Let's go. You all know that. And then we know a sub 1 is 10. How do we get a sub 0? Divide by negative 8. Ooh. So that'd be negative 5/4, wouldn't it? Okay. So we should be able to write an explicit rule now. A sub n equals a sub 0 times the common ratio to the n power. Okay? So here's another one. Here's a recursive rule. A sub 1, I'll tell you a sub 1 right now is a 2. And a sub n is equal to a sub n minus 1 plus 7. Geometric or arithmetic? It's arithmetic. It's plus 7 every time, right? What's the common difference? What's the slope? 7. Okay. And then we can also think about a sub 0. What's it going to be? Negative 5. Good. Negative 5. And our common difference or slope is 7. So a sub n equals the common difference times n plus the initial term, like that. Now, you think you could go the other direction? Do you think you could start here and figure out a recursive rule? It's actually easier, isn't it? All you have to do is say take the previous one times it by negative 8, right? Here, all you have to do is say take the previous one, add 7, right? Okay? So I think that would be the most difficult part of this assignment. The rest of it, well, there's nothing else really here. We talked a little bit about recursive and explicit yesterday. Okay. Let's get going.